Morning, students. Hope you all are fine and studying well at your home. Today I will start with lesson 10, the sermon at Benares. The sermon at Benares is a story which talks about the early life of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was, if you people would have really paid attention in standard 8th when you were being taught history, therein you are taught about Jainism and Buddhism. So if you have really read well or studied well, you would be knowing that Lord Buddha was originally born as a prince in the royal family. But one day when he moved out of his royal palace, he saw some of the people's sufferings. So because he had never seen those sufferings, he felt that life is beautiful and good for everyone. The day he saw some of the people's sufferings, he left his royal life and he went in search of salvation. And he left all the pleasures behind, and then he sat under a tree, he attained enlightenment, and then he gave first sermon in the city of Benares, wherein he met a lady whose name was Kisa Gautami. And after meeting him and having an interaction with him, and there was an incident which made Kisa Gautami realize that men are mortal. जो जिसने जन्म लिया है उसकी death होगी ही. That is inevitable. Something that cannot be avoided, and any wise person should never grieve at what is bound to happen. Why? Because it will only increase the pain and suffering. So sermon means basically when you deliver something that is spiritually very awakening. तो sermon का मतलब ही होता है जब आप कोई religious या कोई spiritual भाषण दें तो उसे हम sermon बोलते हैं. Practice, preaching, one who preaches, religious preaching, spiritual preaching, that is a sermon. Okay, so I'll start with the chapter now. The chapter starts with an introduction of Gautam Buddha, that he began his life as a prince and his name was Siddharth. If you can see, Gautam Buddha began life as a prince named Siddharth Gautam. That was his name in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. So the chapter starts with the introduction that at the age of 12, he was sent away for schooling, and after 4 years, when he returned, he was married to a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So befitted royalty means very appropriate for or suitable for royalty. So when he came back, he was married to a princess. They both had a son and they continued. That is Siddharth Gautam and his wife and the son. They continued to live the royal life for about 10 years. The royals were shielded from all the unpleasant experiences of the world. So because he was always confined within the royal palace, he could never see the reality of life. That life is brutal for some of the people who are out of the vicinity of the royal palace. So he was always confined, he did not know. One day what happened, he moved out and he then experienced or realized that life is not good for everyone. It depends what class you belong to. So he met a sick man, then he met an aged man, then he saw a funeral procession, and then he saw a monk who was looking for alms. Alms is, maybe you can help a person in cash or in kind, but basically here alms means he was looking for some money. These experiences and these visions basically, they gave him, it was an eye opener for him, and he left all the royalty behind to seek a higher sense of spiritual knowledge. So this is what happened. Then if you see, the chapter talks about he wandered for 7 years and finally sat under a peepal tree. Seeing all these things, he realized that I need to leave this royal palace. If you see, these sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment. That is, he wanted to seek the true spiritual knowledge concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So finally, he left his royal palace. Then he wandered, that is moving here and there, for 7 years, and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. तो वो बहुत दिन तक इधर उधर घूमते रहे. He went in search of enlightenment for about 7 years before he finally came across a peepal tree and he chose to sit under it till he attained spiritual enlightenment. He finally attained this spiritual enlightenment or salvation. After 7 days, he decided to retitle the tree as the Bodhi tree, the tree under which he sat to seek spiritual enlightenment. तो बोधि ट्री का मतलब ही था ट्री ऑफ विजडम, and he himself came to be known as Buddha, which means the enlightened or the awakened. He even began preaching his new realizations. तो जो भी उन्होंने सीख किया, then he started delivering it. Knowledge should be shared, and his first sermon was given in the city of Benares. The city of Benares is known to be very sacred and very holy, very pure, very auspicious, as it is on the banks of the river Ganga. The first sermon that he delivered has been preserved and it is famous till date. And then it gives to new vision to the unending suffering of the man. Then Kisa Gautami had an only son. Now this lesson takes a turn and a new character is introduced, that is Kisa Gautami. So there's a lady. So this chapter now talks about a lady whose name is Kisa Gautami, and this lady's son had recently died. The lady was struck with unending pain and sorrow. So she took her son from door to door requesting from the people for any kind of drug or any kind of thing that they could give her son so that the son could come back to life. Of course, there was no way a dead person can come back to life. So everyone thought that the lady, she has become insane. She had lost her ability to think clearly, because every person on this planet, they know very well that it is impossible to bring back a person to life once the person is dead. But she kept moving from door to door. Then she reached the door wherein a man helped her, and he told her that, see, I cannot offer you any medicine, but I will take you to Sakya Muni. So Sakya Muni here is the Buddha, and of course I believe that he will, that is Lord Buddha will help you. So the lady was filled with hope, and the lady visited Gautam Buddha and she begged him that please bring back my son to life again. Of course, Lord Buddha realized that it is impossible to bring the dead person back to life. So the Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain, for there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. Okay, so now when she reached over there, Buddha realized this, that it is true. ये तो एक फैक्ट है लाइफ का, बट अगर वो यही चीज उस लेडी को डिलीवर करते तो ये तो उसे और भी लोगों ने बोला होगा. अगर उसे समझना ही होता तो वो पहले ही समझ जाती. Why was she waiting for Lord Buddha to deliver her the same statement? So Lord Buddha was an enlightened one. He knew that words cannot heal the pain of this lady. So he thought of another way to make her realize the reality of life and death. So what he said that okay, I will help you, but for that you need to bring me a handful of mustard seeds. तुम कहीं भी जाओ, लेकिन वो मस्टर्ड सीड तुम्हें कुछ ऐसे घर से लाना होगा जहाँ पे किसी की भी डेथ नहीं हुई हो, ना किसी के चाइल्ड की, ना किसी के हस्बैंड की, ना पेरेंट की, ना फ्रेंड की. I mean, I am ready to give you a solution. I can bring your dead child back to life. But for that, I need to have a handful of mustard seeds. But that mustard seed must be from a house where no one has lost a child or any near and dear one. Now, Kisa Gautami was again full of hope. She started running from door to door. People were ready to give her mustard seeds. But on hearing the condition, they took a step back, because of course there is no home on this planet जहाँ पे आज तक किसी की death नहीं हुई हो. Now Kisa Gautami, she became very tired and she became very hopeless, because from morning till evening she kept on moving from door to door, but there was not a single home wherein no one had died. So she could not get mustard seeds. So she sat down on the side of the road and she saw the lights of the city which were flickering. And then she realized that darkness is a part of life and that is the fate of men. हम अगर पैदा हुए हैं तो डेथ इनएविटेबल है. एंड देन शी रियलाइज कि मैं कितनी सेल्फिश हो गई थी अपनी ग्रीफ में. मैंने तो ये देखा ही नहीं कि ये सबके साथ होता है. And then she realized that man is mortal and the cycle of birth and death is nature's way of working. So she realized that we should never be so selfish that we don't realize that this is a part of everyone's life. Men are mortal and the ones that are immortals have covered a path free from all worldly pleasures. And according to Life Buddha, the life of mortals is troubled. Why are we in trouble? Why do we suffer? Why are we in grief? Why are we in pain? Because we have not made peace with the fact that the one who is born has to die some or the other day. There is no way a living being can avoid facing death. Just like a ripe fruit, जब फ्रूट पूरा पक जाता है, राइप हो जाता है, वो ट्री से गिरेगा ही. उसी तरह जब हमारी एज हो गई है या बाय एनी अदर मीन्स, बाय एक्सीडेंट और बाय एलिमेंट और व्हाटसोएवर, वी आर बाउंड टू डाई. Whether old or young, foolish or wise, death leaves no one. The only way death works is by withdrawing the person from the living world. Person ceases to exist. Neither a father can save his son, nor a relative can save his other relative. So just like an ox is taken to the slaughterhouse to be killed, so does death do with mortals, leaving none behind. तो जिसने ये ट्रुथ को रियलाइज कर लिया वही वाइज कहलाता है अकॉर्डिंग टू लॉर्ड बुद्धा. So the lesson ends with a sermon by Lord Buddha that one should not grieve nor weep or be miserable at something which is bound to happen. I mean, you should be strong enough to realize the truth of life. Because if you are not coming up to this fact of life कि जिसका जन्म हुआ है वो एक दिन जाएगा ही, तो वो तो आपको सिर्फ पेन देगा. It is only going to multiply the pain and suffering, thus leading to physical weakness, and of course no amount of grief can bring back a dead person to life. So it is just very important to understand that sorrow and grief should be taken out from our life and can be taken out from our life if we move on to the path of salvation, if we realize that the truth of life is that there is a cycle of life and death. So one who has taken birth will of course die some or the other day. So that is the explanation of the chapter. Now you can see there are some questions. Now your part is to answer these questions, and whatever doubt you have, of course we will clear that in the doubt clearing online session. Thank you, students.